Hello Steelers, and welcome to a bench report hobby update, another one. It's been a little while since the last one. Circumstances basically stopped me recording another one. Unfortunately, there was just an illness. It's all dealt with now, so it's all out of the way, but it kind of meant that I didn't really get a great deal of time to do much hobbying because I was too busy doing other things. But I have actually managed to get a few things painted over the last couple of weeks. It's been slow going, but I'm certainly working my way through the French First World War project at the moment for Mud and Blood, or through cocking up the mud and the blood. Basically, these were the supports. These are all from Peter Pig. I just went and I got a bunch of support weapons and also some crew as well. So I've got a couple of medium machine guns, so the Hotchkiss machine guns, a couple of crew on there, and then I will be adding other crew which I've also based as well individually. Also, I've got a couple of 37mm trench guns as well, which the French were using in the First World War. They're quite an interesting little weapon. The Americans also use them as well, but they were used as well in between the wars as well. And I think early in 1940 as well. But they, it's quite a cumbersome weapon, but at least it was, a bunker buster basically. And also the famous French 75mm quick firing gun as well. And as I say, I also did a load of crew as well, and some flamethrowers as well there in there. So quite a bunch of stuff. So this is just like, for the support list, just to make something a little bit more interesting, just to make those games have a little bit of flavour to them. And I've got loads and loads of the support guys as well, just the gun crew as well. So I painted those, and they're all individual, so they can be swapped about between the different main weapons when they're on the table. Because in the Two Fat Lardies rules, the crews are generally about 5. It's a bit of a wargaming myth that the crews of guns and things are 3 men. They're generally not. They're much more. There's a lot of things going on with those guns. So I managed to get that done. Also, as well, from Brigade Models, you may remember that I actually bought this a little while ago. They've been doing some 15mm 3D printed stuff for the First World War, including wrecked tanks and the like. They've just released, or recently released, a crashed Newport 17 aircraft. So I got that finished off. That was a nice little paint job. Unfortunately, I didn't have any decals for the actual roundel, so I had to paint it by hand. So it doesn't look great, but because it's crashed, I'm not that fussed. It's been scruffed up. It looks okay. So this will just be a nice little scenery piece, really, just to fight amongst. It's not going to be an objective because there would be no reason for a platoon to be sent out to go and retrieve a crashed aircraft, because it would very quickly get smashed into nothingness from artillery anyway. But it's a nice little piece of terrain which has just crashed, fresh crash, so something to seek cover behind. And then the other big thing that I painted, that I've been working on actually for quite a while, some of you may have seen the photographs over on the community tab on the channel, so go and check those out as I painted it. This is the generic French farm, Normandy farm. This is from Tabletop Studios. It's one of the ones that Adam sent out. I did a review of these a while back, you may remember. I did a box opening and had a look at them and a review. I just went back and I picked out a couple of bits and pieces. I thought this is a nice farm, put it on some plastic card with some embossed plastic card as the base, and just painted that up as well. Somebody did ask if I was going to do a tutorial on this, and unfortunately I'm not, but I did use exactly the same techniques in this as I did in a previous tutorial, I tell you. So go and check that out if you want to know how I got this painted up. But I'm quite pleased with it. It was using sabotaged walls as well from Paul, so a little bit of a mix of things. So that's really all I've painted. I am currently painting though at the moment. So I've got a load more French over here on the desk. So these are the French dead. I've got some surrendering French, and I've also got a few big men from the Peter Pig trench raiders as well. These are just at the moment just ready to go. I'm going to undercoat those and probably try and get those done over the next week or so. Those shouldn't take too long. I am going to do a tutorial painting of 15mm French figures as well, so that will be along at some point in the future. The other thing I got as well this week, or at least last week, was the WSS magazine, the new one. This is centred on the Far East, which, as you may know, is one of my interests from the Second World War in particular, Japanese and British in Malaya in particular, and Indians in Malaya. So quite a lot of stuff is covered there, so that's really, really good. Mark Backhouse interestingly, had written a half pint size campaign. So I think it's 3 or 4 scenarios of a pint size campaign of the attack on one of the hills, lookout hills on the edge of Singapore in February of 1942. So I've been looking at that and thinking that would make a really nice little series of videos. It's only 4 videos, easy to make, and chain of command as well, which I love. However, I was looking at the scenery, and obviously it's a fighting around a water tower, one of the water towers on the edge of Singapore itself, Singapore village. So I got in touch with Paul over at Sabotage and asked him if he would design one for me, and the genie that he is actually did, and I've got it here. So this is actually based on the I can't remember the name of it. I'll put a photograph of it and probably a name of it in the on the screen now. But the original, he's done a fantastic job on this, made it look exactly like the original. He said he may put out the STL files. I don't know if he's going to be printing it, but he certainly put out the STL files on his website, so go and ask him about it, go and bother him for it. But it's a brilliant piece of work. This is the 15mm one, of course, and it'll fit perfectly for my needs, because the entire half pint sized campaign is based around the fighting for this water tower. I think the Japanese went on to use it as a lookout spot as well as they were advancing into the city. So I wanted to make something, specific, and also, I mean, it's a pretty generic 1930s water tower, so it won't just do for Singapore. That could probably turn up quite easily on the edge of a French town or somewhere else in Germany. These things are built to pretty standard designs, to be fair. Also, as well as part of it, there are some tennis courts. So I had a look around for tennis courts. They're incredibly expensive if you get the railway modelling ones, so I didn't want to get those. So I thought, well, I'll build my own. And I started with these plastic card bases. So this is going to be the size of it. And I went hunting around and I found that you can get chain link fence for railway modelling. Again, not massively cheap, but this is by Bush. And it comes with upright poles as well. It looks pretty basic as it does here, but what I'm going to do is try to line these with the chain link fence and then use that as the tennis court itself. I'm not sure about doing the net yet. I mean, we could argue that the net has been taken down whilst hostilities are continuing, but I want to do that. So that's something I'm working on at the moment, and those I got in the post as well. I just thought I'll grab those quickly. The other thing that I wanted, and I've not yet been able to find for love or money, is one of what's the so-called black and white houses that they have in Singapore. They're basically colonial houses. They're based very much on the 1930s style of building. They're really obvious. They're it's like a real British suburbia kind of house. Apart from it doesn't have chimneys, so it looks like London in the 30s basically. And obviously, they're supplanting what they wanted to see around them onto Singapore, and they are very desirable residences these days. However, nobody does them. Nobody makes buildings like this. I asked Adam over at Tabletop Studios. He gave me a price for designing and printing it, and I just thought it's a little bit too much than what I want to pay, for what is a 15mm building. So I don't know whether I might scratch build one, or even, I don't know, maybe draw up some plans and then get them cut out in MDF through maybe something like Warbases or something like that. I'll have to have a little think about it. I would like to really make one because they are very typical and obvious parts of the Singapore landscape. And it would be, just nice to have maybe even a couple of them just to make it look nice and interesting and colonial, as they should be, really. So if anybody's got any or knows of any, or if there's anybody out there who is got a printer and desperate to do some designing and wants to do the channel a favour, you know where to send your emails. So yeah, that's kind of where I've been at the moment. Not a great deal has come through. I'm kind of been saving money a little bit because I'm going away in a couple of weeks, which I'll tell you about next week, but I'll keep that secret for now. So yeah, I've been kind of saving money, so I've not really spent a whole load of stuff. I'm trying to get through a lot of the bits and pieces I've got and just concentrating on the French stuff as well. The one thing I did buy was some British from Peter Pig, to make them into big men. I'm going to put them specifically on large bases, just because that's for the Plastic Crack Podcast's CrackCon 4. This coming up in October, which I put down I'll be running a game of Chain of Command in 1944 Normandy. So I thought I wanted to get some leaders specifically for that, so I just got a couple of packs of Peter Pig stuff. They should be arriving on Monday, so I'm just waiting for those to come through. The other thing as well that I did is over the last couple of weeks had a couple of good games actually. The first one was I Ain't Been Shot Mum. We played that down at the club. I took it down. I think there was 6 of us playing it by the end of it. It was basically the north of Cannes German British attack on a German position, which is in the rule book. It's the number 1 scenario, so it's only a small British platoon versus a German half platoon pretty much. It's got like two platoons, so it's half a company, so it's a British company versus 2 platoons of Germans. And it was really just to run everybody through the rules. I think everyone enjoyed it. It was good fun. I managed to get the cornfields onto the table that Tom over at Toft Wargaming did for me a while back, you may remember. So that was good to get those on the table, and I think everyone enjoyed it quite a lot. I'm going to take it back down to the club either this week or next, I think, to introduce some of the other guys to I Ain't Been Shot Mum as well, because it's such a good game. Because I did get those cards, so I thought I may as well use them. And then last week, Dave Benton brought down Altar of Freedom in 6mm. So this is American Civil War. It's written by Greg over at Little Wars TV. And it's a great game actually, really enjoyed it. I've got almost less than zero interest in the American Civil War. I know nothing about it. I'm not particularly inclined to know anything about it. I've watched the Ken Burns documentary, and that's about as far as my knowledge of it goes, and I watched that 20 odd years ago. But it was a really good game. It was the fight for Champion Hill. Don't ask me when that was in the war, because I don't know. We were playing the Union attacking the Confederates. What I really liked about the rules were it's almost got a bidding system, but you also bid for the clock, control of the clock, which in itself also controls how long the turn is. So you basically, this game we had 8 turns, but each turn could be variable in length. So it's really nice. It reminds me very much of things like Sharp Practice or I Ain't Been Shot Mum with a tea break, or with the tiffin card. When that comes up, it could come up halfway through the turn, and then it just means that nothing else can do anything. But you basically distribute points between not only the clock itself to see if you can control it, but also then your units, and you have a certain amount of control points basically, and then you put as many points into a particular unit that you want to act more so than the others. So you might put like 5 points onto one unit because you want that one to be at the forefront, and then you count down those points through the turn. So you've got 5, 4, 3, 2, whoever's got the highest, and then down. And at each time you roll the clock, you roll the dice against each other for the clock, and whoever controls the clock decides which of the 2 dice scores to take off the clock. So you'll start with 10, I think it's 10 every time, so it's so you're going to be taking off between 1 and 6 points. Now if you're the defender, you obviously want to count the clock down quicker, so you're going to choose the higher of the 2 dice. If you're the attacker, you probably want to hold on a bit because you've got an objective to see, so you'll probably choose the lower of the 2 dice, depending if you control that clock. And I thought it was a really, really good mechanic. The one thing I wasn't so keen on is that when you activate a unit, or you activate the division, or the units in that division, there's a very strict movement of movement then fire, and I think I would probably just get rid of that and just allow the unit to either move or fire in whichever order they want. And I think also I spoke to somebody else online about it, and they were mentioning there's the fact that you can get artillery to move and fire as well. Just didn't seem particularly right. It's like, I guess for those kind of, but it's an abstraction, so you're not looking at those individual guns. You're looking at a team of men with horses who are getting into a new position and firing. So I didn't mind it so much. But the artillery is very devastating when it gets up close because it's using canister, so it feels a little bit like it slightly overbalanced in that way. But apart from that, really good game, really enjoyed it. And as I say, it's the first time I've played American Civil War for, God, it must be decades. I think we played it when we were teenagers, and that's probably been the last time. So long time ago now, but enjoyed it. However, it hasn't sparked an interest in the American Civil War. I do apologise, and if you're watching, Greg, I do apologise. Great game, but it just doesn't spark my interest because it's just there's so much to know about it that I'd feel like I wasn't even dipping my toe in it if I even started to look into it. So I'll leave that to somebody else. I'm more than happy to pick up games and play it if somebody else wants to put them on, but I'm not going to go down a Civil War route at all. But it was good fun anyway. And again, thanks Dave if you're watching. Thank you very much for bringing it down. It was really, really enjoyable. So that's it really, that's where I'm at the moment. This weekend I'm going to spend I'm going to play a First World War game for a battle report. As I record this, I put a poll on the community site just to ask if it was going to be cocking up the Mud and Blood or Through the Mud and the Blood, and I haven't seen the results yet, so I don't know which it's going to be, but it's going to be one or the other of those, and I'm going to get my Frenchman on the table and attack a German position, I think in 1917 with them. So that's going to be a bit of a plan. That's going to be probably fighting around Arras and those areas before as part of the Nivelle offensive. So I'm looking forward to that. I did ask Dean if he was available, but unfortunately he's ill as well at the moment, so that's put the kibosh on that for this one. But I will play it, and it'll be a nice, interesting game, because Through the Mud and the Blood works really well as a solo game anyway. Alright, I'll leave it to that. I'll just say if you're watching this, like 80% of you who do watch this and don't subscribe, please hit the subscribe button. Check out the Patreon as well if you want to do help out the channel. As I say, things will slow down a little bit, I think, from October, but I am still going to be trying to put out videos. I'm going to make a lot of videos in the next few weeks, that's the plan. So there are things coming, so don't worry about that. But if you want to check out channel memberships and Patreon, feel free to do so. You will get ad-free early access to videos and also a name on this list that should be going up the screen as I speak now. And I will see you in the next Storm of Steel video.